Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of Step by Step Pokemon. Today we're doing our first ever live interview, and I'm really excited to have Ryan Sabelhaus with us. Ryan is one of the best players in the world if you don't know, and he's been a good friend of mine for quite some time. And I'm really excited to have him here. So he's going to talk to us about the deck that he played this last week at the expanded tournament. And I'll go ahead and turn things over to you, Ryan, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
My name is Ryan Sabelhaus. As you were saying, I am a sponsored player for CCG Castle. I usually do pretty well at tournaments, qualified for the World Championships 10 times.
That's pretty well.
I've
That's
won
okay.
4. Yeah, it's decent.
It's all right.
Yes. I've won 4 regional championships. I got second place at nationals. I got top 8 at the last North American Intercontinentals, which was the biggest tournament in the history of the game. So I got 6th place at that. I've also gotten top 16 at nationals. So I've had some pretty good finishes, and I've gotten my name around a little bit. So
I won a league challenge here or there too. So I know how it feels.
Same level. Same.
So yeah, awesome. I appreciate you telling us a little bit about yourself and coming on and joining us today. So tell us about your deck choice. I'm sure to some viewers it's probably a little bit of a mystery. To some people they've probably heard about it, but talk to us about it a little bit.
Well, for anyone that knows me, they know I like Volcanion, and they know I like turtles. No, I decided to play. Who doesn't like turtles?
Yeah, exactly.
I decided to play. My teammate Rahul sent me a Volcanion Turtonator deck, and it was mainly based around Turtonator and attacking with Turbo Turtles. So we played a whole bunch of Blacksmith, a whole bunch of Kiawe. Well, actually, just one Kiawe, but we get it a lot.
Yeah,
a whole bunch of Blacksmith to get the energies back, and then you just kind of go on a turtle rampage, and you keep attacking with turtles until your opponent's lifeless.
That seems pretty good. So
good.
When your opponents are lifeless, that's like the most desired outcome. So it was basically a Turtonator deck with a Blacksmith engine, and you of course would steam up with Volcanion, and you ran a bunch of energies. Since you were relying on Blacksmith as your supporter so much, what did you do to like stay consistent and keep your hand fresh? I know you had a stadium in there that helped with that. What all was your approach there?
Yeah, we played Scorched Earth was the stadium we used, and we also played 16 fire energies, which is actually like a huge amount.
Yeah, that
but
is.
we played so many fire energies to make sure that we could use Scorched Earth, so we could discard energies to draw through our deck, so that we could find our Battle Compressor, so we could find our tools, so we could start thinning everything. Because one of the questions we actually got asked a lot was, what's your recovery to like late game N? And our answer was, well, hopefully we have a Scorched Earth out and we can draw into fires.
Yeah.
And if not, hopefully we've compressed everything that we don't want, and we've already used all of the bad stuff, so there's only good stuff left.
Yeah,
that was kind of our answer.
That makes sense. And I mean, that's the element of expanded that thin things out for the late game, and that standard doesn't have and hasn't had for a while is Battle Compressor. So I can see that being a pretty huge card, especially if you're doing the Scorched Earth early and playing the supporters to get the energies out of your deck and the compressors to get stuff you don't need. I could see a late game end not being that huge. Plus, I mean, if you're really stuck, you could always use Turtonator-GX attack to put some pressure on the opponent. So so tell us, like, why did you feel that deck would be able to handle the meta in the best way possible?
Pretty much when I was looking at the tournament, what I usually try and do is I try and pick out like the top 3 or 4 decks, and I try and figure out some deck that can counter at least 3 of those, or like a good majority of them. So if it's 4, I try and counter 3. If it's 3, I at least make sure that it can counter 2 and have a decent matchup against the other one, because those are like the most popular decks that I feel like were going to be played for this tournament. I thought it was going to be Trevenant, Night March, Speed Darkrai, and then other Volcanions. And so I wanted to counter the other 3 that weren't Volcanion, because you can't really counter the mirror match that well. You're both water type, and you kind of just blow each other up.
You could run Wishy-Washy and Fisherman. I heard that was a pretty hot deck.
I've heard the rumors, but we'll stay away from that for now. We'll keep that on the DL for the next regionals.
Perfect. Keep it quiet.
But yeah, so Speed Darkrai is a great matchup because Turtonator can just hit for 180 damage with a muscle band. You don't even need the steam up ability, so even if they Hex Mania, you can still just take a one shot. Night March. We threw in the Karen to try and help against that.
Mhm.
It's not really going to help beat every Night March player because the really good ones, like if you're playing, I don't know, Michael Promwat,
In the
specifically in
finals.
the 13th round, specifically in the 13th round for me, or in the finals for Sam Chen,
Yeah.
he'll play around the Karen and he'll, he can still beat you. So
Who knew?
it doesn't beat everyone, but it helps you beat. Like if both decks draw the best they can, Turtonator will win every time because of the Karen. So
that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's that.
And then yeah, so it's a good deck against
Awesome.
Night March. And then the third one, Trevenant. Yeah, Trevenant is just that's a terrible matchup for them. You just Kiawe onto a turtle, and then you just have a 5 energy turtle because you attached for the turn, and then they're like, all right, I'll do 30 or 60.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, your tree's dead. And then they're like, oh, I'll send up there's another tree. Here we go. And if they ever for some reason like bring up a Tapu Lele or something like that, you're just like, all right, now I get all my trainers back. So
yeah, that does seem like a pretty good matchup. So so it sounds like you are pretty well prepared for most of the field. What do you feel like was your worst matchup? Like, I mean, obviously things that are like heavy water, like, okay, but like aside from something kind of fringe like that, what do you think was your worst like mainstream matchup?
Actually, surprisingly, I beat the Archie's Blastoise and the water box that I faced.
Wow.
So they weren't even really that bad of matchups.
Yeah, real quick, how did you do that?
Pretty much against Archie's toys, you just attack with a baby Volcanion as much as possible, and then you make sure, by all means, that you take the first EX knockout, and then it's just a prize trade from there. You Blacksmith and take knockouts, they Deluge and take knockouts, and you can win if you take the first EX knockout. So, and then make sure you also attack at the right time with Ho-Oh, because at some point they're going to come up and try and get frisky with a Blastoise, and you got to be like, yo, chill.
Yeah.
Calm down. I got a bird here. He's weak to electric. We don't care.
So their turtle doesn't necessarily take the advantage over your turtles, basically.
Yes.
That's what the bird is for.
Their turtles are weaker. We have the stronger turtles. It's genetics. That's
perfect. Oh, sorry. No, it's like 7 p.m. and people are just walking field blowers. Yeah. Field blowers through the streets. I'm like, what is happening?
You got your mind put on Pokemon. Mind's put on Pokemon right now. They're called lawnmowers.
There's literally 3 guys with leaf blowers just blowing all the tools and stadiums off of the streets. Oh well, whatever. But continue on. I apologize. Continue on and talk about so that kind of discussed the water matchup. But what other like mainstream matchup was the worst one that you had, or the one you didn't want to face, if any?
So going into this tournament, there were kind of like 3 decks that I didn't really want to face. One was Night March, because if you have a bad starter, like if you start Ho-Oh or if you start like Shaymin, they're both weak to electric. They're dead.
Yeah.
So you're already down 2 prizes. Karen's not really going to help you that much.
Right.
Because they don't even have to use a compressor to take a knockout on the first EX. So it's like, you can't really do anything against that.
Yeah.
So that was a scary one. Greninja. I heard like backdoor rumors about Greninja seeing some play, so I was kind of scared of that. That is a terrible matchup. If they get set up, you can trade with them, but we don't have Hex-Maniac, so their abilities, they're just sniping 60 and taking knockouts with choice bands.
Right.
That is not a good one. And the third one was Mega Rayquaza.
Okay. I can see that too.
You just kind of hope that you can deal with their prize trades and that they don't find Hex-Maniac, because if they do, you can't kill their Mega Rayquazas. So
I mean, that makes sense. Rayquaza, kind of a fringe deck that wasn't super popular. Obviously a good deck, but just wasn't super popular. And then Greninja, again, a good deck, but not super popular. I don't think it wasn't very popular, right? From what I heard.
No.
Nope. Yeah. So 2 out of the 3 concerns weren't really popular, and the one that was a concern is something that is handleable, if that's a word, and if you get the right start. So cool, that makes sense. And we're kind of talking about the meta. I'm looking at a pie chart of the meta right now for the regional, for the Fort Wayne regional. It looks like 22% of top cut decks were Darkrai variants, then 15% were Golisopod, then 12% were Garbodor, then 9% were your Turtonator builds. So we're looking at over 50% of the field, and we haven't said Night March or Trevenant yet. It looks like Night March and Trevenant compose 12% of the top cut. When you look at statistics like that, does that is it like undeniable that the Earth is flat, or like what does that mean to you?
It's actually kind of crazy because that pie chart is like it shows what the best decks were at the end of the tournament, but it does not show what the field was because there was over 800 people. I'd say almost half of it were Night March and Trevenant.
Wow.
So because you just walking by, Night March, Trevenant, and Garbodor were literally the entire field.
That's crazy.
Everywhere.
And there were so many Garbodor variants too. Do you see, before we touch on that, do you see for the next expanded tournament things changing when people realize, well, 40-50% of the meta was 3 decks, but only 12% ended up making it into the top cut share? I mean, did they just all eliminate each other, or is it really just not the best expanded approach?
I think a lot of people are going to change decks, but for most people, it's just you go with comfort picks. Night March is easy to play for a lot of people, and you do a lot of damage. And sometimes you actually just can't play around Night March, even if you have counters. I played Karen. I lost Pram in one of the rounds because I just couldn't find it.
Yeah,
he whooped on me. So sometimes you just play comfortable deck, and it works out. So even at the next expanded tournament, you guys are going to the next expanded tournament. Be ready for Night March. Be ready for Speed Dark. Those two, they're going to see play. Oh yeah, no matter what.
I agree 100%. So we've talked a little bit about the meta. Tell me a little bit how you've had a lot of success. You had a lot of success in this tournament too. What do you specifically do to prepare for a tournament?
Basically, I kind of look at and see what everyone else is liking. I understand what decks everyone likes to play because I've been playing this game for so long. So I understand people like the easy decks that do a lot of damage. People like the decks where you don't really have to think that much and you can hit for big numbers. So Night March and Speed Dark. You don't really have to think that much. You just have to Battle Compressor away Night Marchers or Battle Compressor away the new Darkrai's with Dark Energies, and then you're swinging for big damage. So it's easy, it's simple, it gets the job done. So people like playing those. And then the other thing that people like is decks that don't let your opponent play the game. Yeah. People like Seismitoad, people like Trevenant. They like literally saying, hey, I'm going to play Pokemon, you go play Yahtzee or something, and I'm going to just take you out slowly. So I know to prepare for those decks because you're going to see them. And then I guess the other main thing that I do is when I make my deck, you don't try and add too many tech cards. Yeah. You have to take auto losses somewhere. So you just play against the decks you think you're going to see, and you hope for the best.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just kind of,
That seems like a consistent approach to take to a huge tournament. So, do you do anything as far as practicing against the top few decks, or do you feel like you just kind of know them well enough at this point where you can kind of go into a tournament and just handle whatever you see?
So what we'll do is me and Rahul and some of the other people in CCG Castle will make the decks, and we'll draw a lot of hands and make sure the deck is setting up. Yeah. And then we'll test against some matchups to maybe make sure that the tech cards are useful. Against Night March, we'll test to make sure the Karen is actually doing something. If not, we would just take a loss there. We try and find something else to tech against it. But that's how we found out. We had Oricorio in there, and it just wasn't doing enough. So we switched it to a Karen, and we went with it like that because we found out through testing that Oricorio wasn't enough. So we'll test against the most popular decks. But other than that, we just kind of draw hands with it, make sure it's setting up well, make sure it can do the same thing for 16 rounds, 15 rounds.
Sure. I think a lot of times people underestimate the power of just doing solitaire hands with yourself, just shuffling up, drawing, playing out a couple fake turns. I was even reading an article recently that John Roberts wrote about pretending that your opponent is having the best possible turn and you're getting knocked out every turn, and can you recover and can you stay consistent? I think people underestimate that. I mean, you could play a solitaire game against a fake opponent who's across from you and it be more truthful to spawns and playing an actual set of like 5 games with someone, because you never know, they might draw dead, they might prize a card in game number 3. You know what I mean? So you almost can get a
Yep.
little bit better testing results in some of those solitaire or fake games. What other advice do you think you have for players who want to learn to grow, or who want to grow, who want to learn, who want to have better results as far as preparing for a tournament and as far as analyzing the meta is concerned?
I would say just to make sure that you like talk with a lot of people and kind of get other people's advice, because a lot of stuff that newer people do is they just get kind of hard-headed and they're like, oh, this is the best deck, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna play this no matter what.
Yeah.
And so you got people coming into the tournaments with like Metagross or something, and you're like, please don't play Metagross. And like people just get hard-headed and they don't think about it, and like sometimes they just need a second opinion. Like a couple days before the tournament, I was talking to Rahul and I was like, Vespiquen seems awesome, and he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure every single person in the tournament is going to play Karen and Oricorio. I'm like, yeah, but Vespiquen seems awesome. I kind of want to play Vespiquen. And so then once Rahul already tells you not to play Vespiquen, don't play Vespiquen, because that man will he will do whatever it takes to play Vespiquen, and even he was telling me not to. So
well, that makes sense. So do your practicing, keep an open mind, and talk to people, and that's probably the best way to learn and grow. Correct.
And don't get hard-headed. Make sure that you can adapt. So like if you need to change a deck 2 days before the tournament or something, make sure that you are well practiced with enough decks that you can do that confidently and last 15 rounds.
Exactly. Don't become a Cranidos, right?
Yes. Don't do that.
Awesome. So the next regional that's coming up is actually at the end of the month. It's like what, 3-ish, almost 3 weeks away. That's in Hartford, Connecticut, which is a fair every year. Side note. But anyways, I don't even know if it's that killer. It was just fun when I was a kid. And
all right, don't false advertise here, man.
We would go when I was a kid once in a while because we had family up there, and I remember just being psyched for it. But it's probably extremely average as far as fairs are concerned. We need someone from Connecticut to confirm. But still go, because I mean, average fairs. I mean, you just can't beat that.
You still have fun.
Matter of fact, just don't even go to the tournament and just go to the fair instead. That's probably the best advice.
There you go.
So yeah, we got a standard tournament coming up, a standard regional. Are you going to this tournament?
Yeah.
Cool.
I will be there.
Now, what are your first thoughts regarding the meta, regarding what basically what 60 card list card for card are you going to play at that tournament is my question.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Basically, like, this tournament's actually going to be ridiculous because it's the first set without VS Seekers. And like the whole format's going to change, and it's crazy. And so like people are trying to figure out what they need to do. Do I add more supporters in? Am I going to need to play more Tapu Lele-s?
Yeah.
Like what decks actually work now that VS Seeker's gone? Is Garbodor still going to have that much an effect with VS Seeker's gone? That's 4 trainers that are just gone from every list now.
All questions everyone's wrestling with, I think.
Yeah. So people are freaking out and trying to figure out what deck to play, and I'm kind of doing the same thing and trying to figure out what's good. It's like obviously in testing I like Volcanion because I like volcanoes and turtles.
Sure. So no, who wouldn't?
That's obvious, And Volcanion's been treating me pretty good. So in initial testing I like that. I'm still gonna have to test and see if it works as well without VS Seekers, because I actually haven't done any testing yet.
Yeah.
I've kind of been focused on expanded.
Makes sense.
But yeah. So basically I guess my thoughts on that tournament is gonna be is VS Seeker gone gonna affect like the format that much? And like are people still gonna like play Garbodor as much? I think they are, because Garbodor is just a good card in general. And right now I think Volcanion's the top deck, so
I think I could definitely agree with that too. I think we might see almost what we saw in Seattle regionals when whatever set it was, Guardians Rising, released, and people were kind of like, what do you do now? What's the best deck? And then like everybody came with the same deck. Like we might kind of see that, except with Gardevoir, I feel like.
Gardevoir, definitely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just gonna be like, well, Gardevoir has a good Garbodor. matchup. We use quotes a lot in our interviews, so everything goes in quotes. But we could be like, yeah, Gardevoir has a good Garbodor matchup. It's consistent. It accelerates energies. I mean, like, it just seems like it's a strong deck. So when in doubt, be safe, right? That's what a lot of people will think. And had someone thought one step ahead of that for Seattle and been like, or not, because obviously a couple people did, but had more people thought a little bit ahead of that, I mean, like, oh, well, I'm just going to bring Metagross because I think everyone's going to play it safe and play Garbodor, then Metagross probably would have wrecked through that tournament. So I think I'm not necessarily saying play Metagross for Hartford.
Do not play Metagross.
I don't think it's a good idea at the moment. But I mean, if you're thinking a step ahead, like, okay, if the field is going to be even 30 to 40-ish% Gardevoir, because that would be heavy numbers. I mean, it's not like people who are newer think like everyone's going to play it. It'll be 60, 70%, whatever. And it's never that high. Like, there will always be variations in what is played. But if 30 to 40% of the field comes in with something like Gardevoir, then you just really have to think, all right, what are the other two decks that are going to be played? And what should I play to handle those things? Because honestly, at a huge tournament, like you said, people value consistency. So, I mean, I think kind of thinking just almost one tournament ahead, like, let's just assume that Gardevoir is going to be strong at this tournament. What would I then play at the following tournament? And bringing it to this one might be a good approach too.
Yes. So if you are going to Connecticut too, just like you were saying, a great idea to think about would be what deck can I play to make sure that I have good matchups against a lot of decks in the format, but also to make sure that I don't lose to Gardevoir since it's going to be so popular.
Absolutely. I think that's a good approach for the upcoming tournament for sure. So I feel like we covered a lot of stuff. I'm not trying to drag out the interview to hours and hours long. I think people like a good, solid, quick interview that's packed with lots of content. Anything else that you want to add, or anything that you feel like pertinent to our discussions that would be relevant? And then if not, we'll move on to a couple shout outs if you have any.
No, I think they pretty much covered the most of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I do all the insight and everything that you had to offer, and I definitely appreciate you coming on the channel, and hopefully you can be back on the channel in the future. And I'll just
go win some more regionals, and then you can invite me on here.
You can
be great.
Only be on when you get like when you finish in the top half of 1% of all the field.
500 player tournament, I have to at least get top or something.
That's the only way you make it on the channel.
That's
perfect. I like helping you set your goals, man.
Busy after Connecticut. I'm coming back on.
Absolutely. It's already scheduled. So what shout outs do you have? Friends, family, teammates, sponsors, anything. I don't care. Animals, go for it.
All right. Well, first of all, shout out to my dog Moose. What's up, Moose? It's good living with you. You're a good roommate. I know you don't know English, so you don't know what I'm saying. But big shout out to Moose.
Perfect.
Real shout outs. I'll give a shout out definitely to you. Thanks for having me on here.
Thanks.
Thanks for interviewing me. I'll give a shout out to my sponsor, CCG Castle. Make sure to go on the CCG Castle, buy all your singles, buy all your boxes. I think they're still taking bulk if you wanted to sell bulk there. Cool. If you need any of the newer cards for Connecticut coming up, you can always go to ccgcastle.com.
That's convenient.
And then if you are also, everyone's been seeing the trend of the TC Evolution dice. Definitely go check out TC Evolutions, get some of those aluminum damage counters and GX counters. Those things are awesome.
They are nice.
We gave them to our CCG Castle team, and we're all loving them. So definitely go out and get those. I think they have the promo code CCG Castle for free shipping. So you can go get those too.
Very cool.
And then last shout out, 60cards.net. Go and check them out. I write articles for them. There's also a lot of other great writers that write articles for 60cards.net. So go check them out too.
Wow, awesome.
That's it.
If I was your brother, I would be extremely salty. So sorry, Kyle.
No,
you got snubbed.
No shout out to Kyle. No shout out to Kyle or Rahul. No shout out to Kyle, Rahul, Azul, nothing.
Snubbing everybody. That's what we like to do here on Step by Step Pokemon.
True family. No one cares about friends. We're all about the wins and the big companies.
Exactly. The companies and the dog. That's it.
So, yeah, exactly.
Well, that was awesome. I really enjoyed our time. Thanks for coming on here. And everybody stay tuned because we'll always have more content. And don't forget when you're playing Pokemon to always have fun. Bye, everybody.